Good afternoon, everybody, or good morning, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. I hope you're having a fantastic Friday. It is Friday. I'm so happy. I just need a nap, basically, and I think many of us are probably thinking the same. Welcome to Fridays Live. This is part of Find My Past from Home. It's our free family history series designed with you in mind, and we do Fridays Live every Friday. It's a chance for the entire Find My Past and Genealogy community to get together and just to, I think, have a bit of a wind down after a busy week. We talk about family history, we talk about history, we talk about, we have things like dad jokes and a little bit of light-hearted banter. So this is a safe space. If you're brand shiny new and joining us for the first time, please do introduce yourself in the comments. Say where you're tuning in from today. What is the weather like with you? We always have to do around the world weather report, of course. My name is Ellie. I'm Senior Community Executive for Find My Past. What does that mean? I look after things like social media and I try and foster a warm and safe community for you guys as well. We are also joined by Jen Baldwin, who is in the comments with us today. So please do say hi to Jen. Lovely to have her with us today. And of course, to all of our regular viewers, hello to you as well. Let's welcome some of you. Let's have a look, see what's going on here. We've got Sue from a sunny Guildford. We've got Rosie from a spring-like Shropshire. Do you know what? I thought that today as well. I nipped out to the shops and to grab myself some lunch, and I put on a coat, and I don't know why I bothered putting on a coat. It's a glorious afternoon here in Edinburgh. It feels proper spring-like, which I'm really, really happy about. We've got Ellen with us saying it's overcast in Roscoe, rain threatening. Sometimes it's nice to have a bit of a downpour though, but I think I'm just Welsh. I quite like the rain. Jen and I were actually speaking about the rain. Was it yesterday, Jen? We were speaking about the rain. I think it was yesterday, and we actually have that in common. We both come from very rainy hometowns. So there you go. Who else have we got? We've got Roxanne with us. We've got Beth. We've got Sally. Hello, Sally. Bright and sunny. Fantastic. Jackie, Heather also in Edinburgh. Andrew saying that it's sunny and warm in Lancashire, but it's cooling down. 18 degrees in Lancashire. You're joking. It can't be 18 degrees. I feel like it can't. 18? Nah, Andrew, you're winding me up. Marion says, hi from a very sunny island. Yes, of course, it was St. Patrick's Day yesterday. So happy St. Patrick's Day belatedly for anybody who was celebrating yesterday. I hope you had a really good day. And I think it's also a really nice time to think about your Irish ancestors and your Irish family as well, and your Irish heritage. I think it's a great time to remember that. I have, on my dad's side, I have Irish ancestors from what is now Northern Ireland. So it was a day that I could remember them, which is quite cool. So many people with us today. This is so nice, you guys, and lots of people saying how sunny it is as well, which is lovely. I'm so pleased with that. That's really good. Thank you for the comment on the lipstick. I don't know why I went dark lipstick today, but I just did. We'll just go for it. I think last time I wore dark lipstick for a Find My Past from Home, I think somebody said I looked tired. So I sort of avoid it now, but never mind. Susan is saying it's nice to see you. It's also nice to see you as well. Lovely. It's loads of you today. I could just talk through the comments all day, but we actually have things to discuss today, believe it or not. So yes, I will get started. In terms of what we're going to be talking about today, we are, of course, going to look through the new Find My Past records for this week and the newspapers. We will touch on those very, very briefly. I think I put a link in the description to this video to the blog if you want to go and check them out. So I won't spend too much time on them. And then what we're also going to do is we're going to do question of the week. And if you've not had a chance to look at question of the week yet, it is, who is your luckiest ancestor and why? Luck of the Irish and all that. I thought this would be a fun question of the week for this week. So who's escaped death 3 times? Who avoided a prison sentence? Who somehow managed to get married twice bigamously and didn't get caught? This is the stuff I want this week. I try and make it a little bit lighthearted. I'm in the mood for lighthearted, and I think we all are actually. Then what we're going to do as well is we are going to do a sort of a back to basics tutorial on how to start off with a civil birth record and just use that one record to go back in time. So we're going to use a combination of birth records and marriage records, and then at one point we are going to be able to move into census records as well, which is really good. And I have a celebrity example to show you how easy this can be. It's not always easy. I will just preface this. It's not always easy, but it can be. And what I'm really interested to know is, as I'm going through the steps with this, and we'll talk about this a little bit more later, but is this the way you do it? If you do it a different way, I really want to hear how you guys do it. And also, if we can make this any easier on Findmypast, this is what I really want to know. How can we make this even more straightforward for you? Because I think it's quite easy, but you might not think that, and you might have other ideas of how much easier we can make it, basically. And then what we're also going to do is we are going to go back to some records that we already have on Findmypast that you may not have used yet, you may have forgotten about, because we do add new records every week, so it's very easy to forget the ones we already have. We are going to have a look at the Irish Petty Sessions registers for Ireland, because St. Patrick's Day, and they're really cool and you can learn lots. And as I was saying to Jen before I came on, before I pressed the live button, I didn't allow myself enough time to prepare with the petty sessions. So I would have loved to have gone into them in a little bit more detail, but I just ran out of time. Suddenly it was 10 to 4 and never mind. Okay. Lovely. We've got so many of you here. This is so nice. Lots of questions of the week coming in as well. Let's do the new records, shall we? Now, if I just add I think this is the screen I want to add. Yes, it is. Okay, so the new records for this week, everybody. Oh, actually, before I start on new records, I do just want to say that I am preparing a small blog post to be published in April on Findmypast. And what I really would like is anybody who would like to share their really important, exciting, emotional 1921 census discoveries. If you are up for me writing about your story and your discovery in the blog, if you'd like it to be shared, I don't have to use your surname, for example. If you're worried about that, I can just use your first name. If you're interested, please can you email me at discoveries@findmypast.com. I'll just put that up on screen now so you can see the email address. If you're interested in that, I would really love to hear from you. I've already got a couple of people who've said yes, which is great, but I'm after a couple more. And then the last thing I wanted to ask as well was, I'm hoping, fingers crossed, if any of you are interested, I'd like to talk about some 1921 census discoveries on a live broadcast like this, and maybe invite a few of you on to chat to me. Now, it wouldn't be for a full hour. It would probably be about 10-15 minutes each. We'll do it in short segments. So if you're interested in doing that, on guest starring on Findmypast from home, please do drop me an email and we can chat about that. And if you don't fancy doing it live like this, because I think sometimes there's a little bit of pressure doing it live, we can record if you would prefer. So just mention that in your email. We could also do a podcasted version as well, so where our faces aren't shown and it's just we're just talking. So just tell me what you prefer if you are interested. I'm happy to cater to what you're comfortable with. Okay, yes, I am going to actually move on to the new records now. So already 10 minutes in, would you believe? And I have already rambled for 10 minutes. This is mad. Okay, let's do new records. Okay, so new record set number 1 this week is exclusive. It is brand new. It is the Waterford burials for 1850 to 1950. So Waterford in Ireland. These are transcript and original image, and I cannot stress enough, go and check the original image. I know we say this all the time, but there are extra details on some of these that you are definitely going to want to check out. What more could you want? This record set has the whole package. So these cover a range of cemeteries, and apparently Waterford is Ireland's oldest city. I think I read that somewhere this week, and now I don't know. Someone's probably going to tell me I'm wrong, but I'm saying apparently. Okay, I'm not saying it's I'm not saying it's absolutely correct. It's probably not absolutely correct. Now, I don't have any Waterford ancestors of my own that I know of. So what I did to test these out for you, I decided to search with 2 surnames from my family tree of those who were born in what is now Northern Ireland. I searched for Walsh and McKenna, and I focused on McKenna, and there are only 3 McKennas in here actually, and funnily enough, one of them has the same name as my ancestor, but totally different, other side of the country. So here's the transcript for Bridget McKenna. She was born in 1842. She was 60 when she died. She died on the 30th of March 1902, and it tells me she was buried at St Otteran's burial ground in Waterford. The next one I wanted to show you was Josephine. I love the name Josephine. Fun fact, my mum is called Joanne, and she goes by the name Jo, and she sometimes lies to people and tells them that her real name is actually Josephine, not Joanne, because she's an interesting character, my mother. Anywho, moving on. So here's Josephine. And this is actually the original. It's quite hard to read. She's on line 2. But what it actually says is that Josephine McKenna, she was 55 when she died. Her occupation was a housekeeper. She was married. It also gives me her residence, which was Chapel Street in Lismore. I'm probably mispronouncing that. Oh, this is what happens when I try and pronounce Irish things. I just don't get them right at all. She was born in 1882 and she died in 1937. So if you do have Waterford ancestors, definitely go and check these out. They span 100 years and they can vary from detail to detail, but just check the original, because you can get the occupation, you can get the residence, and you can get sometimes next of kin as well. Just go and explore. Next up, we've got a brand new photographic collection for Ireland. Now, I did intend to get some of these to show you, and it has totally slipped my mind. So we don't have them to show you, because this is what happens when Ellie tries to prep like an hour beforehand. Oh, wrong one. There we go. So this photographic collection is for Ireland. There are around 117 colorized photographs, which are absolutely stunning. So these were taken in black and white, and they've since been colorized. And I think there are a couple of, I think they're mainly photographs, but some of them look like images as well, as in like illustrations. These are totally free to view, so you have no excuse whatsoever if you to go and explore these over the weekend. And I believe they cover the years, I can't remember the exact years now. Anywho, I think most of them from around the 1890s. I think it's the 1890s. But take a look, and what I think might be quite cool is if you can find the town that your ancestor was from, for example, you can see what it was like in times gone by from these stunning, stunning images, and they're free. And then for newspapers, we have added 5 new Irish titles this week and 8 British ones. So loads to explore. And there's been over 300,000 new pages added this week alone. The newspaper team are absolutely killing it at the moment. They are doing so well. So the new titles include the Accrington Observer and Times, the Boston Target, the Chestnut and Waltham Mercury, the Dungannon News, the Football Gazette for South Shields, the Frontier Sentinel, Ireland Saturday Night, the Leitrim Journal, the Limerick Gazette, the Middlesbrough Herald and Post, the Sports Gazette for Middlesbrough, and the Stockport County Express. So you have so much to go and check out. And those are just the new titles. There's been loads more that have been updated as well, including a couple, I think, of North Wales titles, which I need to go and check out at some point. Exciting times. Oh, and the Wokingham Times. I totally forgot the Wokingham Times. Okay, right. Let's do question of the week, shall we? I'll just pop it up on screen again so everybody can see if I can find it. Where's my banner gone? There we go. There's my banner. I did have one that was submitted in advance. This was from Vicky. She said her luckiest ancestor is her dad. It took him 5 years to persuade her mum to marry him. Today would be their 72nd wedding anniversary. So a very happy wedding anniversary to your parents, Vicky. Dad survived 2 tours of duty with the US Marines in Vietnam, endured Parkinson's disease brought on by exposure to Agent Orange while there, and lived to within 2 months of his 92nd birthday. And yes, happy anniversary to both of them. Fantastic. Okay, I am going to scroll up now and I am going to see what else I can find that you guys have been popping in the comments for question of the week. Let's see what we've got. Okay, I've scrolled all the way back up to the top, which might have been a mistake. I'm still going. Hold on, bear with. Okay. Philip, my mum and dad, because they had me. Yes. I love it, Philip. Fantastic. Yes, Jen's giving thumbs up here, and yes, absolutely. How do you define lucky? I lucky in the sense I fancy listening to something that's a little bit uplifting, something that's going to make me chuckle a little bit. That's the sort of thing I'm interested in today. I think we could all do with a little bit of a chuckle. Okay. So Ellen says, my uncle graduated from high school in 1933 and took a trip back to Italy to visit relatives. He was almost conscripted into the Italian army. Oh my goodness. And he managed to get back to the USA. Oh, that's good to know. Okay. Daphne saying Findmypast is very difficult to navigate. I absolutely want to hear from you, Daphne. If you have any suggestions on how we can improve the experience from you, we want to hear from you, basically. You can drop an email to support if you'd like, if you've got any thoughts, or you can add them into the comments here and I can always pass them on to the project teams. Okay. I know, Matthew, I know. Do you know what? I was getting so into some research that is for something I can't actually talk about. I don't know why I'm talking about it then. And I got so into that I left preparation for this a little bit too late today, but that's my own fault. Okay, Beth says, my maternal grandpa in the Second World War, the ship he was on got torpedoed, which he survived. He was at the Fall of Singapore, survived being a Japanese prisoner of war. Then later on in life, he was on a state-of-the-art cargo ship, which got hit by a freak wave near South Africa. He and the other passengers were hoisted onto a helicopter and flew home. Goodness gracious me. Was he a cat? Does he have 9 lives? That's amazing. I'm obviously very, very pleased he survived all of those things, Beth. But yes, fantastic story. Okay. Sarah says, my grandmother won a house in a newspaper fashion competition in 1959, gave it to my father, who married in 1960, and that's where we were raised. Oh, I want to win a house. Can I win a house now, please? I remember once when I was about 9. I was in school and I remember saying, oh, I'm never lucky. I never win anything. And I entered some sort of like competition in school and I won it somehow. And that was very, very shortly after saying, oh, I'm lucky. I'm not lucky. I never win anything. Oh, yes, Jenny, I've already got yours. I was writing yours up earlier. Thank you, Jenny. Sally says, I think my great aunt had a lucky escape. She was all set to marry Reg. A date was set and there was great excitement. However, in 1907, he lost his job and was then found with stolen goods from his previous employer. He was prosecuted, imprisoned, and then sent in disgrace to Chicago by his parents. Excuse me. She could have had a very different life. Absolutely. Goodness me. Here's one from Andrew. Not a direct ancestor, but a cousin aged 60 took his wife and 6 children from Lancashire to Durham coalfields in 1858. His branch missed the Lancashire cotton famine, which hit the rest of us hard. Goodness me. Just because they moved. Wow. Okay, right. Okay, I'm still scrolling. Okay, this is Matthew's one. I guess I have a few lucky ancestors. My maternal grandmother is probably the luckiest. Born in 1914, she lived through 2 world wars and lived to the ripe old age of 98. Good on her. Okay, I am still scrolling for questions of the week. I'm still going. I think I'm nearing the end of my comments. Philip says, my great-great-uncle was shot during the First World War and was about to be shot for retreating against orders. It was only when his commanding officer woke up that the full story emerged. He turned to help his commanding officer who had been shot already. Oh, thanks so much. Oh, thank goodness he spoke up. That's all I'm saying. Thank you. Thank you to the commanding officer for saying. And also, your great-great-great-uncle was obviously very brave as well, because he was trying to save somebody else and got shot himself. So very brave man. Okay, I think I'm caught up with the comments. Please do keep those coming in, and if we can try and get to some at the end. What we're going to do now, it's tutorial time. Yay! Let me just share my screen. There we go. And hopefully you should all be able to see that. Okay, now I may be preaching to the choir here, okay, with this short tutorial. This is how I start off with one person's civil birth record and trace a line back in time. Okay, this is how I do it. There are probably a number of other ways it can be done, and I really want to hear the sort of methods that you use as well. And I might be telling some of you how to suck eggs here, okay, for which I apologize, but this might help somebody get further back with their family tree this weekend. And that is all I want, is for it to help one person. And also, if you like the look of my method, and you give it a go and it turns out it works easier for you, then that's really, really good as well. So just bear all that in mind. And as I said, I do want to hear about other tactics and methods and things like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to use an example. And the example I have decided on is Tom Hardy, actor, because I rather like Tom Hardy. So what we're going to do is, and you'll have to excuse me while I follow my notes on one screen and follow the tutorial on this screen. This is going to be a live demonstration. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up a couple of different tabs. So we've got a civil births tab. We're going to have a civil marriages tab, like that. And then I want a census tab, like that. So 3 different tabs. And we're just going to try and find Tom's birth record. So he was born Edward Thomas Hardy in 1977. Oh, one result. So this is first port of call. This is his civil birth record. We'll open it up. And here it is. Now, as you will notice, there are no parents on this because this is not a certificate. This is what I like to call a certificate light. It's a register from the Civil Birth Index. So it's sort of basic information, but you can use this to go on and order a certificate if you want, which you can do so here. You can take note of the volume and page number. But there is a way of doing it without ordering the certificate. Doesn't always work, bearing in mind. Sometimes the names that you're looking for are just not unusual enough and you can't quite work out, is that the actual person I'm after? So it's a bit touch and go, but what we're going to do is we are going to take the information from this record and we are going to try and find a marriage record for his parents, which will give us the names of his parents. So we are going to take the last name Hardy, the mother's maiden name Barrett. We're going to take the rough location of London, and we're going to take the rough year of 1977. We're going to hop into the other tab here. We are going to add in Hardy and Barrett. I'm going to put in we'll put in 1975, give or take, say 5 years. And I'm going to put in London. We can always move the filter as well. I might move the filter a little bit. There we go. So we've got 3 results there, so we can have a look and see which one works. Okay. Now, this one looks like a match here because this is a man, and the man's surname would have been Hardy. So if we open that up, we find an Edward J. Hardy married Elizabeth A. Barrett in London in 1976. So already we've got 1 generation back. We've got the parents. Great. What are we going to do next? The next thing we are going to do is going to go back to the birth records. So I am next going to try and find a birth record for Edward J. Hardy. So I'm going to remove Thomas. I'm going to put J. I'm going to leave Hardy there. I am probably going to take about 20 to 25 years off Tom Hardy's year of birth. So if I put, let's put 1950, and I'm going to put London. Bearing in mind, it's not always, people move around, okay? Let's have a look. And yes, as you can see, this is one I prepared earlier. This is Edward J. Hardy's birth record in Ealing in 1950. So let's open that up. And here we go. This is his civil birth record here. And what I love here is that his mother's maiden name is an unusual one, which is just gold dust. Okay. So if you've got a slightly more common name, shall we say, like I'm Harper Jones, that's ridiculously hard to trace. But if you then can find it, put another name into the mix that is a little bit more unusual, it can really help you narrow stuff down. So we're going to do the same again. We're going to go back into the marriage records and we're going to find a marriage between a Hardy and a Sculper in order to find Edward's parents. So this would be Tom's grandparents, okay? So bear with, okay? We're going to go back to the advanced options here. I'm going to leave Hardy there. I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm going to put, I can spell it right. I'm going to put the name variants on as well, just in case, because it's an unusual name. Let's have a look. Yeah, okay. So these are Tom's grandparents. So this is Edward T. Hardy and Patricia J. Sculper. That's a fantastic name, isn't it? Patricia Sculper. So these are Tom's grandparents. So the next thing I want to do is I want to go back to the birth records. I'm going to find a birth record for Patricia because, you know, this is the more unusual name. So this is the easier path to take for me to show you how well this can work. Okay, so back to the birth records. So we're going to go into advanced options. We are going to add in Patricia J. Sculper. Can't spell it. I'm going to put the name variants on. I'm going to get rid of that. Oh, we've got our result. And here we go. So we can see here that she was born in 1920 in Bermondsey. Her mother's maiden name was Whitwood Humphreys. That's a fantastic double-barreled surname. And yes, okay, I know you're probably thinking we can then go and find her parents, so Tom's great-grandparents. We can go into the marriage records and we can go and have a look. But before we do that, the eagle-eyed among you will notice that she was born in 1920. So which record set, exclusive to Findmypast, could she appear on? Oh, wait. It's this one. So this is another really, really great tip, okay? So while you're doing all of your searching, definitely check out the related records, the other records featuring that name, which you can normally see just underneath the transcript. We have a match for Patricia right here, one click away. And as I've already unlocked this record, I've been able to go straight to it. Here we go. So this is Patricia Joan Queen Sculper in Bermondsey. And these are her parents. So this is Leslie Edwin and Ellen Mary. Isn't that amazing? And we can see here as well that Leslie was a factory foreman, timekeeper, and general supervisor for Albion Button Manufacturing. And they're quite a young couple here. They're only in their late 20s, early 30s. And indeed, we can then go and find the marriage record if we do just want to cross-check our work, check the evidence, so to speak. So if I put in Whitworth, was it Whitworth? Checking my notes, can't find it. Whitwood, excuse me. Whitwood Humphreys. Here we go. So yeah, they married in 1918. Fabulous. So yeah, there we go. Can we go a bit further back? Yes, we can. So I'm going to leave the birth and the marriage records for now, and I'm going to follow the related records and the census records. So little tip for you. we managed to find this record for Patricia by following the related records on her birth record. Now, this is 1921. She was born in 1920. If we scroll down, there's not going to be another related record for a census for her because she wasn't alive. So she's selected here. Click on Leslie. Okay, now he's the selected person. Scroll down again. Ah, there it is, 1911. Let's click through. So here we go. We've gone back another generation now. So we've got 19-year-old Leslie, a shop assistant living with his parents and his siblings. So these are some more ancestors for Tom Hardy. We've got Solomon and we've got Henrietta. Isn't that fantastic? And apparently Solomon was a disinfector, apparently. And if we scroll down again, let's see what else we can find. Yeah, there's a 1901 record for Leslie. And here we go. So he's 9 at this point. Solomon at this point was a mortuary keeper. He was actually born in Norfolk, which is interesting because that means that Tom Hardy's line goes back into Norfolk. This particular line does anyway. So because Leslie is 9 here, we won't find him in the 1891 census. So we're going to click onto Solomon. Let's see if there's anything for him. And that's just his 1911. I'm just going to try Henrietta before we move on. Aha, yes, so we've got Henrietta. So here we go. We've gone back another 10 years here, and we've got Solomon and Henrietta. Solomon at this point is a shoemaker and general dealer, and we actually get Castle Acre as his specific birthplace. Now, I wanted to go a bit further back again, but I lost track of him. Okay, there are no more related records there. So then what I did was I went into search all records. And because he's got quite an unusual name, I wanted to see what else pops up for him. So what I did was just search for his name. No year of birth, excuse me. It's last thing on a Friday. And we're going to go view 34 results. Okay, and interestingly, yes, okay, with these are the records we've already looked at for him. 1854 is his birth year. He was actually born in 1864. This is his birth record. This is his baptism record in Norfolk. So if we have a look at that, we can see that the denomination was Methodist. We can see his parents. We've got Charles and Louisa. Charles was a boot and shoemaker, so the occupation clearly ran in the family. And if I just go back again, come on, there we go. I've actually found some other census records for him as well, which is really, really exciting. So if I go, I'm just going to go into 1861. Oh no. Oh no, it wasn't that one. I can't remember which one I found now. Ah, yes, here we go. So he was 8 years old at this point in 1861. The family were already in London. And if I swap over to Charles, there wasn't one there, but I am just going to search for Charles in 1836. Yeah, here we go. And that's Castle Acre. So there we go. That's how easy it can be. It's not always easy. I do admit that it's not always easy at all. It can be quite tricky to find exactly what you're looking for. And the reason I've shown you this is because we're trying to make it easy as it can be for you to make these discoveries, okay? And we want to hear from you. If we can make this process easier for you, I absolutely want to hear from you. As I said, you can drop support an email and you can put some suggestions in there, or you can leave them in these comments and I will certainly pass them on to the product team and we can hopefully continue to improve this experience for you. And don't forget as well, this is only really one method that I've used here. So I've just been using the combination of the birth records and the marriage records and then getting back into census records. Let's not forget things like the hints on your family tree, and I'm sure you guys have got so many other suggestions of what you do to find more about your ancestors and get further back. Sometimes, yes, you do have to bite the bullet and order a certificate. You just have to sometimes. But sometimes if you're lucky, okay, and you've got a good combination of surnames and middle names and they don't move around too much, you are sometimes quite lucky. So yeah, tell me, I really do want to know, do you use this method or do you use a slightly different one? And yes, there are probably lots more details to be found in things like the newspapers and military records, apprentice records perhaps as well. And I could find further details if I'd had more time to prepare for this session today. So yeah, there we go. So that is how I start off researching somebody's line, just to get things like names and dates onto a family tree. Now, I'm going to have a quick look back into the comments and see what else you guys are having a natter about today. I'm just going to scroll back up. Yeah, this is such a good point, Jen. Unusual names make great signposts. They tell you if you're on the right path or not. Absolutely. I love coming across an unusual name. Yeah, Matthew says it the same. Call it my starting reference. Yeah. I think we all do it slightly differently, like employ slightly different methodology when we start off. I don't know. This is tried and tested for me. It seems to work. So yes, there we go. And Anya as well saying the further back you go, it's more tricky with Irish records. Yes, and fantastic. There's some really good suggestions there, Anya. Thank you so much to anybody who's researching their Irish family trees this week or any week, I suppose. That is very good advice for any week. Lovely. Okay, right. Okay. Oh, you use the same one, Philip. That's really good. On the rest surname front, it can sometimes be a double-edged sword as they often have less standardized spelling. Yes, this is so true, and this is why you saw me checking the name variants box, because it does. They do change spellings every now and then, based on things like, you know, whether the handwriting was any good and then the transcription's been done, or whether a clerk's heard it wrong. There could be a number of things why there might be an extra couple of vowels in it, for example. But there we go. Rosie saying she uses the same method as well. And Sally, yeah, I'm good company with you guys then. This is really good. I'm really pleased. Jen probably uses something quite different because Jen's a professional. Jen, tell me what you use. I really want to know. Put in the comments. I want to know. Okay, right. There was one last thing I wanted to talk about before we wrap up today, actually, and that is petty sessions, which are really cool records, actually. So I'm going to add my slides back in here. Okay. And the reason I wanted to chat about petty sessions records is because, number one, it was St. Patrick's Day yesterday. So I wanted to highlight a really, really cool Irish record set that we have on Findmypast. And second of all, it's because we add new records to Findmypast all the time. I think a lot of us, including myself, forget about the amazing records we've already got because maybe we don't talk about them enough. So we're going to talk about things like this more. So the record set I'm highlighting this week are the Irish petty sessions. They are really, really good, actually. They're quite detail rich. They are fab substitutes for lost censuses. And Brian mentioned them on Wednesday in his session on Wednesday. So shout out to Brian for reminding me just how cool these records are. So before I start, what actually are petty sessions? So petty sessions over in Ireland are the lowest courts. They hear cases about things like money owing, domestic disputes, public order offences. You get both civil and criminal. These are presided over by justices of the peace. There was no jury in these lowest courts, and these justices of the peace, from what I've read, were not paid. So these, the justices were probably well off enough themselves. And I believe there was also some controversy in sort of the mid 19th century about corruption among JPs in Ireland. But I would have to do more reading on that, and I am by no means an expert in the field. So if there was a more serious case, that would be held with a jury at a quarter session. And as the name suggests, those were held 4 times a year. And then the most serious cases were held at the assizes, which were twice a year. So that's things like murder. So the petty sessions, depending on how many cases they actually had to go through, these could be held every day. Every day these guys were in court. And the records come from the clerks who took notes throughout every session. So these are the records that survive today. The courts were established in 1827, but few records actually survive from before about 1851. The petty sessions were replaced by district courts in Ireland in 1924. There are about 22 million records in this record collection, so there's loads, there's so much to explore. And of course, it is always a good idea to cross-reference with newspapers for more glorious detail about your ancestors. It's not really a crime. It's this, as the name sort of suggests, these were sort of very petty things, very small things, but they could still appear in the newspapers. So what can you find? You can find things like witnesses, victims, those who are accused. Great for your fan research. Yes, Jen, I have just mentioned fan research because I knew you'd like it. Addresses, dates, details of the offence, the verdict and the sentence, and also the names of the justices of the peace who were presiding. So, shall we take a look before we wrap up and get into the weekend? Okay, I'm going to use the name Patrick Walsh, which is a name from my family tree. It is very unlikely that the men I'm looking at here are my Patrick Walsh, because let's be honest, that's like being a William Smith in Ireland. Hey ho. Okay, so let's have a gander here and see what we can find. So this is the main search screen. I've added in Patrick. No, I haven't. I've used Patrick McKenna, not Patrick Walsh. Excuse me. I used Patrick McKenna. I have both in my family tree. I'm confusing myself. Okay, so I've just pulled a small selection of the search results because there were many. There were many Patrick McKennas. And these ones caught my eye. So we've got 2 mentions here for Patrick McKenna in 1852 in County Donegal, and we've got him as a complainant and also as a witness. So that immediately intrigued me, and I wanted to go and find out more. So this is the transcript for the complainant record. This doesn't give me too much information. This is very, very basic. I get the name, I get the date, I get the fact that he was the complainant, I get his residence and the court and the county, etc. The real magic from these records absolutely comes from the originals. Now, this is really hard to read because this is a whole page and there's actually 4 different cases on this one page, presided over by, I think, 3 JPs, which we can see in the second column near the top. But I will just zoom in slightly on the one I am after here. So we get the name of the JPs, which I believe are George Hamilton, a chap called Montgomery, and a chap called Wilson. So there's 3 of them, I think. And Patrick's case is, I think, the 3rd one down. So I found Patrick McKenna, who was the complainant. And I think the defendant was a farmer called Michael. I can't quite work out his surname. It could be something like Maguire or... It's not McGuilly. I don't even know if McGuilly's a surname, but I really struggle to read the handwriting in any case. But anyway, moving across. So we've got sort of the date, the JPs. I don't know if this is in the right order, if it's flipped around or not, but move from left to right, basically. So we've got the date, the JPs, and we've got the defendant and the claimant. And then you've also got a list of witnesses who were examined. And that's where Patrick's name appears again. So he not only brought the case forward, he actually gave evidence at the petty session against this chap called Michael. And then moving across again in the next column, we've got details of Patrick's complaint against Michael. And again, I struggled to read this, but one word did jump out at me, and it was the word intoxication. And I think that Michael was found to be intoxicated. Patrick probably wasn't impressed, and decided to report him. And thus you have this record in the Petty Sessions in 1852. Over 150 years ago, we are reading about this chap called Michael, whose surname I cannot read, having one too many to drink. Who knew? Did he know that we were going to be reading this over 150 years later? Probs not. So yeah, the next column, you've got the order of dismissal, which is what the justices of the peace decided that Michael had to pay as his fine, and it was 1 shilling. So he had to pay 1 shilling as a fine, and then 1 shilling for costs, I think, if I'm interpreting this correctly. And I really, really, really wish I'd had more time today to explore these records in more detail, because I really, really did want to get my teeth into them. This was about 15 minutes this afternoon, me pulling this one case for you. So imagine what you can find here on a Saturday afternoon with a cup of tea, a slice of your favourite cake, the cat snoozing away on the sofa, and I don't know, the sounds of spring outside. Birds chirping, sun streaming in through the windows. This sounds all very idyllic, doesn't it? That is everything I had prepared for you guys today. It's actually only about 10 to, so I'm going to go back into the comments and just read a couple more of what you guys are nattering about. Oh, Nicola, have you come to my rescue? Matthew McGinley, intoxicated in the street. Yes. Well done, Nicola. This is what is so great about the Findmypast community, is that we just all come together to solve a puzzle. Michael McGinley, goodness me. Yes, we can, Victoria. We can certainly do another session on Irish Petty Sessions. Maybe with somebody who knows more about them than me. But yeah, we could definitely explore them a little bit more. And yes, the best ones to chat about are always the slightly naughty ones, I think. But that's just how it goes. Okay, this is lovely. Oh, I've got a good suggestion from Rosie here. One helpful point regarding Petty Sessions is I can see the names of potential family who stayed in a small village in Ireland after my great-grandfather had left for England. With a bit of work, I can hopefully work out that, for example, the Daniel who was mentioned was my great-great-grandfather. That's what we like to hear. Always good to cross-reference. I don't know how many times I say this, but don't just take that one record that you find in isolation, because that is just one piece of the puzzle. Go and find corresponding evidence, and you might not get exact corresponding evidence, but you might get another bit and another bit and another bit, and then suddenly you can pull all these threads together and, oh, look, the picture becomes clearer, and you suddenly find out that your ancestor, Michael McGinley, liked to drink. Maybe it was St. Patrick's Day. Sorry, that's a terrible, terrible stereotype. I take that back. Okay. Lovely. I think we will call it for today. Susan says another source for Ireland are the dog licenses. Yes, we should definitely talk about those at some point as well. Can we get some England court record? Go and take a look in the crime, prisons and punishment record set. That is fantastic. It's an amalgamation of various different crime records for England and Wales. It's huge. There's so much. It's all from the National Archives, but there are some court records in there. I don't think, somebody might know this better than me, but I don't think there was quite an equivalent of Petty Sessions in England and Wales. I may be wrong. Jen's shaking her head. So let's go with what Jen says and we'll go with no. Thank you, Jen. Okay. And yes, this is a really, really good point to end on. All the small bits make a big impact. And that is absolutely true. Because as we all know, none of these records were made so hundreds of years later, descendants could be using them to piece together a picture of a family tree and find stories. This is not what these records were made for. It's not going to be easy. So we've got to take the small bits and we've got to piece them all together. Lovely. Okay, so in terms of what is coming up next week, so Paul Nixon is doing a pre-recorded session on what England and Wales were like after the First World War. That is going to be on Wednesday. And as I said, he's going to pre-record it because normally I think Paul is off on a Wednesday afternoon or he has a meeting. So whenever he does a session on Findmypast from home, he sometimes has to pre-record, but that's fine. Just make sure you tune in for that. And hopefully I'll be around in the comments to have a natter with you as well. Rose is going to be back on Friday for Friday's Live, so expect lots and lots of newspaper goodness. And remember, if you do fancy appearing with your 1921 census discovery on our blog, upcoming blog, please drop me an email. I'll just put the email address up on screen again so you can see. There we go. Drop me an email to discoveries@findmypast.com. I'm also interested to hear if any of you would like to come on Findmypast from home and talk to me about your discoveries. And as I said, it would only be a small segment. It would only be like 10 or 15 minutes. We can pre-record it. We can do it as more of a podcast if you would prefer, if you're not comfortable showing your face. There's a number of different things we can do based on what you're comfortable with. But really, I just want to chat to you. And I think it would actually be the first time. Would it be the first time? In any case, first time in a long while where we've had members of the community actually chatting with us live. So that would be really cool. And I really, really would love to hear from you. I think that would be fantastic. Okie doke. I think we will leave it there for today then. Have a fantastic weekend. Thank you so much for joining and listening to me ramble about petty sessions and tutorials and things like that. Thank you, Jen, for doing the comments. We love you, Jen. We love you, Jen. And I suppose we will catch you same time, same place. Not the same place because, you know, Rose doesn't live in Edinburgh next week. Take care of yourselves, everybody.